Some people say that they're worth such and such an hour, or, oh, I won't do that because I could be earning such and such an hour. I really, really hate that. There are people who are like, oh, my time is worth this, and I won't do anything that's worth less than this an hour. I've even seen it in video games before, where a person's like, oh, why would I come and help you do that? Are you gonna pay me in-game currency? Because I could be making this an hour. Say you have a job, you earn $50 an hour. So your time across the board is not now worth $50 an hour. Because in reality, you can't work 24/7. You need sleep, you need breaks, you need food, you need some social time. So you really, if you're going to say your time is worth such and such an hour, you have to actually be real, you have to actually be honest and admit that you don't always spend your time earning that much an hour. Like, it's not realistic. People like to exaggerate their value and inflate their worth financially by saying stuff like this, and it's kind of ridiculous. Now, there are also people who say I'm worth such and such an hour, and what they're talking about is passive income. So maybe they're like, oh, I get $80,000 a year in dividends, or oh, I own rental properties and I earn like, $100,000 a year from the rental properties, whatever it is. So they view themselves as having some sort of a passive income, and even in their sleep, they're getting paid per hour by whatever this thing is. That still is an inflation. And the reason it is because A, passive income is not actually passive. It either requires a massive investment, like huge investment in the first place, or else it requires a lot of maintenance to keep it going. You can have, say a rental property. You either need to hire property management business, and that takes out part of your money, or else you need to deal with property management yourself. You've got to hire repair people and deal with maintenance and annual dealings with that. You've got to deal with annual taxes. There's more that goes into it than just, hey, I get a paycheck. It's not actually truly passive. And so some hours of your day, you're going to be working harder than other hours of the day toward your passive income. And some days are going to be very laborious, like during tax season, and some days are going to be not so bad. It's not consistent. So it's not actually per hour. You have to accept that when people say that, they're also usually not including their debts. They're saying, oh, I get this much a month, as my rental income, but I'm not including any taxes, I'm not including any maintenance costs, I'm not including any debt that I have on the place. They might owe more on the place than they've made on it thus far, but they still are saying they're making a profit. Their net worth might say something, but that's not their actual, real, fluid currency worth. And so saying that they're worth so much an hour is just a way of trying to boost their ego. If you are working a normal base job, you're making less than $60K a year, and you are just trying to get through and trying to earn enough to feed your family and pay rent and actually still have a home and a roof over your head, you're not worth less than these people who are worth such and such an hour. They're exaggerating. They're probably spending more than they make, even when it's passive income, and they do have to actually put in some effort. It's a total exaggeration. So saying, oh, I'm not going to do that because it's beneath me, because it's only worth such and such an hour, is really limiting yourself. If you make normally, say, from 8 to 5, you make $50 an hour. And then you go home and you're only making $3 an hour because you're doing some sort of online thing that's cheapo. That's still $3 an hour more than you would have gotten In reality, once you got done with work, you could have been making $0.00 an hour. Or else you would have to take that $50 an hour that you were making at work, take the taxes off, take all of the costs off, take all of the maintenance costs for your own life off, for your rent, for your bills, put down what you have left over after the end of the budget, at the end of your debt, and even then, you would have to average it across all the hours of the day, including the hours you're asleep and making $0.00. If you're making passive income, you gotta do the same thing, except you are making some sort of a compound interest once a month or once every quarter or whatever on your dividends. You are growing something without having to do that while awake. Maybe it happens when you're asleep. But you still gotta average it out over all your hours in a day. People like big numbers because big numbers are exciting and flashy and interesting. But in reality, it's consistency and consistent little numbers, little marginal bits that build up real worth. Not exaggerated worth, not inflated worth, not net worth. Real worth, real value, actual asset, actual income. Saying you're worth such and such an hour is just a way of deluding yourself into thinking that you're better off than you are. Saying you're worth such and such an hour is just a way for you to feel better than the person you're talking to about yourself and to snub them. Saying that's a waste of your time because it's only worth such and such an hour is just you limiting yourself from opportunities to learn new things or interact or be social or have a different skill. Interact with something that you aren't used to. Try something different. Explore. Saying you're worth such and such an hour is extremely lazy. And the people who say it the most often are the ones who often are accusing people of being lazy. And that's why they're not worth more such and such an hour. If you're making the excuse that you're worth such and such an hour, so why would you? That's just self-defeating. That's not showing off. You think it is, but it's really, really not. Because it's not accurate. It's ironic.